It's fucked again. It's better now. It's a mutant. We're good now. Mutation of the highly dangerous mutant strain science virus. It's better now. It's fucked again. We've found the vaccine. Vaccine's shit. We're good now. Mutant strain's back. We're in the clear. It's fucked. It's atomic.
A tool or an option for a small number of cases. How can Victorian businesses make any regular planning, let alone investment planning?
Well, again, I'm not accepting, and I think it's just wrong to say that they're a tool for a small number of cases as such. They're a tool, yeah, and also I think about 14 times made the point, Lee, that every case on its merits. So I think we'll sort of get, anyway,
What I'm trying to get to is, it obviously, as you would agree, lockdowns impose a real cost on the community. Victorians have already paid a really high price because of the long lockdown last year.
Yes.
Your own team just made it clear that the cases are actually very well traced, managed and contained. So why continue to resort to the harsh measure of a lockdown?
Well, I think I've already gone through that a number of times. I went through that on Friday for the best part of two hours. I'm happy to do it again, but again, the types of cases, this UK strain.
What I'm trying to get to days of lockdown last year might be asking, how is it the case that their government still lacks such confidence in your hotel quarantine systems and your contact tracing that you apparently can't manage 2 to 3 cases of COVID a day with a population of about 6.3 million people?
Well, you've made a number of assertions there, and well, no, they're not. You just put it to me that there's a lack of confidence. Well, you've made a number of
confidence in the system, which your own bureaucrat actually just explained, frankly, is working quite well. Why do you need a lockdown?
Well, because the public health advice to me is that given the speed with which this moves.
They were contacts of contacts, they were really well identified. And
not all of them, actually. Some of them have come into scope.
Pins down. Your hospitals aren't in any danger of being overwhelmed. It's a small number of cases. That all suggests that your system is actually working pretty well to contain it. So why the need for lockdown?
Well, that's a very different question to the one that you asked at the beginning, where you contended that there were all sorts of confidence issues.
Well, I said on the weekend that a lockdown was needed because contact tracers could not keep up with the spread of the UK variant, which would imply that you lack confidence.
That's not what it implies at all. That's not what it implies at all.
Because your own expert just made it clear what a good job's being done in terms of containment and tracing. So what's circuiting in?
I'm not sure. That line of questioning follows that it'd be better if there was a heap more cases. It doesn't make much sense to me.
After lockdown, every time you have 2 or 3 new cases a day.
Well, as I was just saying, we'll look at every positive case on its merits, but we would always work as hard as we possibly can to avoid having any statewide measures, any extra rules. But look, this is...
Victorians to take 2 to 3 cases a day, the system may not be able to handle it. But that's on the table, that you might have a 5-day lockdown every time you have 2 or 3 cases.
Again, I think it's important to acknowledge that when you use terms like the system may not be able to handle it, this is not the 2020 virus. This is a very different virus. And if you want to look at systems that can't handle things, well, have a look at Europe. Have a look at so many parts of the world. They're dealing with what happens when this UK strain runs wild. There's just no
the UK strain. So here we are in another lockdown. There's something a bit different in this one, and there's a bit of rebellion. Finally, the people are starting to fucking fight back a little bit. And like in this documentary I watched, Muhammad Ali's documentary When We Were Kings, he says that Muhammad Ali was like the sleeping elephant, and that, you can do whatever you want around a sleeping elephant, but beware when he wakes up.
Muhammad Ali, he was like a sleeping elephant. You can do whatever you want around a sleeping elephant. Whatever you want. But when he wakes up, he tramples everything.
I feel like now it's like the elephant's just getting that little bit of a fucking itch in the eye, and it's about to wake up. And this is the friction that was required to create change, both change on the collective and change personally, and that you can only push people to a certain limit. And to me, again, it looks like they are begging for us to wake up at this point. It's so fucking obvious. And I've seen little things in the since we went into the latest lockdown. There's not as much fear as there was in the other ones. I've been to the supermarket. I've seen people walk. I haven't been harassed once for not wearing a mask. I've seen a lot of people walking around the streets without wearing a mask. I went to the service station yesterday. There were 4 people inside not wearing masks, and we were basically left alone. And we do not take fucking rules off this criminal government. We've exposed the pedophilia that many times over, and if these people are covering up pedophilia, why would you listen to anything they've said? But like, there's some good things that are happening, like the march that happened the night before the lockdown was great. That was probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, turnout they've had. And just from me having conversations with people are pissed off. I know people that are writing letters to schools, people are writing to their politicians, you know. I hope this lockdown continues. I feel that if it's only going to be if it's only 5 days, the complacency will kick back in again. So hopefully we'll get a good 2 weeks of lockdown, or they'll take us out and then put us back in, and people are going to be even more pissed off. But 2 weeks of lockdown, I think we're going to see proper fucking fight back in this country. There was been some good ones. There was down in Oakley today. Raf Fernandez did a great video. Went after this reporter.
Someone, Remy Varga is the one that did the article about me. It was either on the Daily Mail or the Australian, and she's here. Wait, so remember Remy Varga, the one that did the article about me on Daily Mail or Australian? Yeah. She's fucking here. Look at her. I'm gonna put her on the spot, man. Hey, I noticed your badge. Susan. Oh, you're Susan. Dolly Basic. You wrote an article about me. There was a lot of misinformation there. Who do you work for? Was it the Guardian or was it Daily Mail? Which one?
I work for Leader.
The Leader. Okay, well, you guys promoted an article about myself and Thanos Paniidis, spreading pure misinformation. Now, every time someone searches me up on fucking Google, that comes up straight away with the misinformation. Yeah, how do you feel about that? It's fucking wrong. Because no, you're doing your job. No, because you guys, you're just hiding in your fucking towers up there in the city. You're hiding in your towers and you write whatever articles you want about myself, Thanos, and everyone else in the movement. How do you feel about yourself? I didn't think I'd see you on the street. You didn't think you'd see me either. Bloody writing articles about us. You should be ashamed. Spreading misinformation. I gotta put you on the spot.
I'm not answering any questions.
Yeah, of course you're not gonna answer questions. Of course not. Everyone, make sure you get the name. Misinformation. Look at her. She's going to write an article. She's going to write another article spreading misinformation about myself and Thanos Paniidis. We're trying to help the people of Australia. We're trying to help against the lies, the corruption, and this lady is backing up the corporations, the companies, the government, the ones spreading lies to us. You're spreading the lies. Good on you. Do your bloody research. She's the one that did the article from, what was it, The Guardian? One or the other, I'll get it.
And then we saw like this church that opened up, and they're just not giving a fuck because we've copped enough abuse. And
there were no masks, no social distancing, and no respect for the rules. Pastor Paul Furlong held his Sunday service in Narre Warren undeterred by the lockdown.
Where is the pandemic? It's not about COVID. It's about one world order and government control and removing our freedoms. Are we going to obey God or are we going to obey man?
Dozens attended, including COVID-denying Nick Patterson, known for hosting anti-lockdown meetings.
According to our Commonwealth Constitution, we have rights, freedom of religion, and to associate and to gather.
but not according to the police, who arrived towards the end of the service.
You come here armed, which is an act of interrogation. Well, it's still an act of... Well, you're not protecting that.
Organisers were allowed to finish, but details were taken.
Are you actively protesting the rules or just having a normal service?
No. Look, we can have a legal discussion shortly, but I'm sure that better forum for that would be in court.
The people who attended could face a $1,652 fine for breaching lockdown rules, while organising the gathering may open up Pastor Paul to incitement charges.
The psychological abuse this is doing on kids is fucking disgusting, and it needs to end soon. And I even saw this one video. I thought I probably shouldn't put this up, but this is a good state of where we're at. I don't know exactly what the cause of this person suiciding was, but this is reality for a lot of people. And then we saw, like, at the start of 2020, we were seeing these videos of these Chinese people. I put up a post at the start of 2020 saying, you know, like, the Chinese model now is perfect, and that you for, you know, the global rollout. And we saw this Chinese woman being dragged away because she wasn't wearing a mask, and we thought this was absolutely impossible in the West. And this has gone on to happen in Australia. Now we're seeing the blaming of hotel quarantine. So, you know, problem, reaction, solution, or what are we going to do? These people might need to go, the hotels aren't working, we might have to put them in camps and stuff. And the coordination of these lockdowns in America, the UK, now New Zealand, and Auckland's going to lockdown, and then Melbourne. And now we've seen this girl come up, I saw on Instagram, that's exposed that the actual site of one of the so-called clusters or whatever that this guy come from, that this place has been shut for 7 months. And again, like, and they're like, oh my God, it's a lie. Yeah, it's all a lie. All the cases are a lie. But, you know, the building is under lease, up for lease at the moment. Apparently hasn't been operating for a long time, but
I've just debunked. COVID-19 cluster linked to a private function at Coburn site, February 6. This place, right? That's what the mainstream is saying. This is the restaurant in Coburg where there's been a cluster. Now this restaurant, this is a video taken 18 hours ago. As you can see, it's up for lease and fully closed. It's up for lease. Number since to verify myself, and it's been closed.
So, Danny, February 15th, 2021, and police.
The question is, how could there be a COVID cluster at this restaurant in Coburg when, as you saw in the video, it's up for lease and has been closed for 10 months? This is insane, guys. Why are we in lockdown if this is not true? The guy that posted that on his Facebook, the post has just been deleted. So now they're even deleting posts of the truth. Dude, Daniel Andrews has put us in lockdown for 2 confirmed cases in that restaurant in Coburg that I've just proved to all of you guys is fake news. Fake news.
What we're seeing now too astrologically is the Saturn squaring off with Uranus, which is quite interesting because Saturn is restriction, government, law, and this is squaring off against Uranus, which is rebellion. And this is what we're seeing now, the clamping down and the fucking resistance. So again, pretty exciting times. But the best one we saw was this, whether it's true or not, to me it almost looks like a fucking it almost looks like a stage video you know, again, could be connected to like some form of fucking disclosure that they're trying to relax. It's just that ridiculous. So check this one.
Idle, except for this one. But these mates weren't willing to explain. Did you realise there's a lockdown?
Can't wait for some of these snags. It's going to do that.
And then we see some more drip feed. This is fucking big at the moment here. We've got Parliament House alleged rape, how Brittany Higgins' horror night unfolded. Now, she's accused a staffer of raping her in Parliament House. We've heard Fiona Barnett talk about being raped at Parliament House before too. It's just absolutely mental, but they're showing her here. They've got pictures of her with, interesting, with Scott Morrison, who we know Scott Morrison's connections to Brian Houston, and that fucking even Trump told Brian Houston he could fuck off, which was like covered up by the media. And his father, Frank Houston, with this notorious pedophile, and he was brought over to Australia and worked in youth charities after he'd been done for pedophilia in New Zealand. And he was brought over. There was one researcher who claims that he was brought over under funding from Macquarie Investment with Malcolm Turnbull, connected to Bottom of the Harbour scheme, which was also connected into these 28 VIP pedophiles that were listed through the Woodrow Commission out of this VIP ring that operated in Sydney, in places like Darlinghurst and King's Cross. So just another one that's come out. And it was very interesting again too that we saw Australian of the Year go to this victim of pedophilia, and some have already come out and said why is she going up there accepting an award from Scott Morrison, and that's been linked to this case as well here too. So she talks about how she was basically drunk off her head and then was left, was raped in Parliament House, woke up being raped, and that she was almost sort of told to, you know, you can take some jobs elsewhere, or you can piss off. And how many women has this happened to, connected in with these fucking parasites? But it's just very interesting too. There was another photo of her, who was it, with Julie Bishop. Yeah, interestingly, there was an article about Julie Bishop that came up the other day. So I went over to Julie Bishop's Instagram page, and Julie Bishop apparently now is like, she's like the dean or something at some university, but she's put up here, I didn't know this, Julie Bishop is connected with the McCain Institute. Now, to me, watching her, the way she was interacting in that around the Abbott and Turnbull administrations, she is top dog. And you'll find, especially a lot of these women who get to the high positions, are usually in the secret network, which exists beyond the public sphere. She seems to be much more higher ranking than any of these other people. And we did see the picture of her with the red shoes. Now, she's connected in with the McCain Institute. You can see in this picture here, Julie Bishop has the front hand position. Now, what body language experts show that usually, not always, but usually, because it can depend on where they position, but where they will deliberately try and position the power structure that had the front hand. So you can see her in this position here with the front hand. We know McCain is connected to ISIS and, you know, the funding of these jihadi groups in the Middle East, amongst many other things. But she says here, I'm honoured to be named in 2021 Kissinger Fellow and McCain Institute for International Leadership. Its mission to advance leadership based on security, economic opportunity, blah, 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 blah. And she's credited here the late John McCain and the remarkable Dr. Henry Kissinger, which has been described as one of the most evil men alive. So what more do you need to know about Julie Bishop? And Julie Bishop, if anyone can remember, she led the international fucking witch hunt over Russia at the end of the Obama administration around the missing flight. Was it the one that got shot down in MH370 over Ukraine? And this was this play when they were gathering all the troops up, which, the NATO forces aren't supposed to go any further east than Berlin, which was signed in the treaty, but they ended up pushing under Obama the NATO troops right up to the Russian border, and then used obviously Ukraine as the excuse to go in there. I think there's a lot more to that story, but interesting. I think we're going to see stuff come up around Julie Bishop later. And we've seen another one come out too, again connected child trafficking in the Philippines with this guy, now another one, Philip John Cooper, his name is. And he's connected again in with this same ring that I did an expose on earlier around Peter Scully, Lux and Shannon McCall. They were producing some of this sort of hurtcore child torture and child porn, which is absolutely fucking disgusting. And this is another arrest that's been made. There was another 70 odd that was made last year, connected in with this same ring. Now I did a talk with Melina McDonald the other day on her Facebook Live, so I might just play a little bit of that because I just show that how some of these connections are being made here with child trafficking and Australia.
When they had the Royal Commission into Institutional Child Abuse, they set up a redress scheme. So if your organisation was involved in institutional child abuse, people could actually receive payment, which was a admittance of the organisation that they'd been involved with child abuse. And ASIO is listed as one of the agencies under the redress scheme, right? ASIO. What the hell is our intelligence network on the redress scheme for child abuse? And if you're looking at what's happening now, there's a lot of stories coming out in the Philippines around the filming of child porn on the internet, and the main centres that a distribution is going online with the servers is Melbourne. It's Melbourne. We had a guy, there was another guy in Adelaide, Shannon McCauley, connected in with child services, but the main guy was, he was in Melbourne, a young bloke. And if you find out, people don't want to say it, but the federal police and ASIO, they run these operations. That is what they're doing. Another whistleblower, Tim Roy, who you can see, he's got police documents, and there's a guy who's people are saying the man of the people on Sky News. He's named as a pedophile on that. Yep. And then we're looking into another one. We've got Kevin Rudd, connected with the IPI, getting money from Jeffrey Epstein, connected in with Ehud Barak, head of the Israeli intelligence. We've got Daniel Andrews, who signed up. He brought over Israeli intelligence cyber security firms to operate in Melbourne. Why are they doing that? Everyone's saying he's connected with China, which he is. It is a cesspit. It is an absolute cesspit. And then you've got Alexander Downer now, there's documents that are going to be released soon in the US, and Alexander Downer working as part of the Five Eyes spy network to get involved in other countries' elections. It is a cesspit in this country. I'm telling you, when these people are either raping children or they're covering it up or they stay silent about it. If they're silent about it, they're guilty, right? Now, these people are telling you to wear a mask. They're telling you to stay home. It's that simple. Serene, I know you know the law. I don't know nothing about the law. My law is natural law. It's right and there's wrong. I can't fight these people legally. I go out there. If it's right, I'll do it. If it's wrong, I'm not going to listen to what the government says.
He actually was talking about a fellow who runs a gardening show, and yes, let's just say, Mr.
It's been suggested that man who ran that gardening show was getting, he was paid off by the head of Channel, Kerry Packer, and then the other one we've seen now too. What's happening in Melbourne? We've had New South Wales has done this report on Crown Casino. And Crown Casinos getting, what do casinos do? The casinos are made for money laundering. That's their whole purpose. That's why they exist. But now they're showing that the Chinese billionaires are funneling and laundering money through Crown Casino, involved in child trafficking again. And James Packer, they released an article this week. Who did he meet in the 90s, in the period that this person's under investigation? Ghislaine Maxwell.
I think we're going to see a lot come out around the Crown Casino now too, very interestingly, that on the Crown Casino board, we got Andrew Demetrio here, and this man looks fucking scared when I've seen like these videos of him now, and also James Packer. And what's happening as far as Demetrio, if you've watched the cultural Marxism that has crept in through the AFL, and particularly around the period when Demetrio came in. Now, when Demetrio came in, he modelled the AFL as far as the cultural Marxism side, pushing all this racism, LGBT, destroying the rules, destroying the game, and all the media that's connected in with the AFL to create cultural change. This was all done under Demetrio. Now, he used to go over to the NFL. So what have we just seen in the NFL? We've had the NFL Super Bowl, which I said was always going to be won by Brady because, you know, the Brady and the Patriots have gone down to Florida. See what's happening here. And then, so we know that NFL has been, it's been suggested that the child trafficking has been linked to the NFL before in the way of the Super Bowl. Now, there was a lady that went on Dr. Phil quite a few, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, that spoke about being trafficked as a child to the Super Bowl.
From being flown around the world on private planes, dressed in a wardrobe fresh off the runway, to attending exclusive events with the rich and powerful, Kendall says her life growing up appeared to be lavish and decadent. She says she traveled the globe to the biggest sporting events in the entire world, from the Super Bowl and Olympics to the World Cup, rubbing elbows with doctors, successful politicians, and even high-profile members of law enforcement. Kendall's story begins when she was a newborn and her parents sold her to a powerful man who owns a dangerous international sex trafficking organization, a man she says still owns her and wants her back. Kendall says every glamorous event and plane ride was with a wealthy client who paid for her so they could abuse her in ways, well, they're just simply too horrendous to comprehend. Now, for nearly 4 months, we researched Kendall's story, trying to verify its authenticity. And after speaking confidentially to agencies, we were able to confirm that Kendall has in fact been trafficked. Here's what she told us.
I was born into this world of sex trafficking. It's the only life I've ever known. Since I left, everything has been so hard, and nobody except the man who owns me can help me. I was given to the man who owns me by my birth parents, and I was forced to have sex with clients. One of my first memories was thinking that it was normal for men to be fondling babies. My whole life I traveled all over the world and would go to some of the biggest events to meet clients and have sex with them. They were all extremely rich and prominent members of society. Sometimes they would just want to have sex with me, and sometimes they'd make me have sex with different people. The clients were often physically abusive. Clients were even allowed to smother me with a pillow or plastic bag while having sex with me, but they were never allowed to leave marks or bruises on my face because I always had to look pretty. The man who owns me constantly manipulated me and did horrible things to me. He would make me be a dog, made me eat feces. I was kept in a cage. Sometimes he would electrocute me as punishment. Annette spoke about being trafficked during the Bathurst car race here in Australia. And then we also know, and the reason they do this is because when you've got these big events that are going on, there's a lot of things that can go under the cover of it, because when you've got big events, this is why Kathy O'Brien was connected in with the country music scene in America. And what they would do is, because obviously you'd have the traveling country music scene going around, and you would have massive amounts of trucks and stuff that are going in that aren't being checked. So this opens up for drug running, weapons running, and also human trafficking and child trafficking. And then with the Super Bowl too, what have you got? You got so many of these rich players and elites that attend these events, and then you've already got the children in there supplied
ready for the so-called after parties. And then it's the same, like Fiona Barnett spoke about at Bathurst, because, you know, Bathurst was this big event. You'd obviously had lots of trucks and stuff coming in. And knowing what we've learned about the child trafficking through the country music scene in like the 80s in America, is this not possible that this happened in Tamworth? Because Rachel Vaughan's put up an article, an old article, I'm not sure when it's from, maybe the 90s or something, and it had a list of different satanic hub towns within the satanic network, and Tamworth is listed as one of them. And then we're also seeing now with what's happening with Myanmar and the so-called military coup that we've had over there. Now, what is this? Just sort of some sort of test run to see what public response is going to be too? Like, and Myanmar would be the perfect place to try this out, because most of the older people there they've lived through military dictatorship for most of their life. They're sort of accustomed to it, and it's only the younger ones in the country that have really seen so-called, you know, democratic government. Not even though we know it is, but, you know, Dominion voting's now connected in with there too. So what are they fucking trying to tell you? But this is opening up a larger web, because will this connect into what's happening with Crown Casino? Because 60 Minutes did an expose on this a while ago about how majority of the ice that's coming into the, you know, crystal meth that's coming into Australia and its base form is coming out of Myanmar and Burma. And it is a fucking lawless, it is a completely lawless country. I spent a lot of time in northern Thailand and that, and the military guard the border up near where I go, on the border between Thailand and Myanmar. And I spent a bit of time in Myanmar last year too, and they're beautiful people, but it is a fuck country. And with the drug, Ricardo Bossi continues to talk about the flooding in of ice. Now, he was connected in with the military, right? He talks about the flooding in of ice, and he talks about two different locations, but I've never seen him hint much further than that. He talks about Townsville, and he talks about Darwin. Now, what do we know about these two locations? These are both military bases, base ports. Now, Obama brought the US military base in to Darwin, and this actually had quite a lot of resistance around the time. I remember a great interview, I think it might have been with Carl Stefanovic. They had a guy on there that was sort of fighting back, saying, why do we need a US military base in Darwin? And that when anytime a military base pops up, that you're going to see spikes in sexual abuse, rape, and drug use within that place. And they've picked Darwin for this. So as we've seen throughout the years, with things like DynCorp in the Balkan Wars, how these military bases all around the world, specifically the US ones, this is the trafficking network. This is what's being used for. I know people talk about how great the fucking military is now, and Trump's, you know, these are staunch people fighting for our fucking rights. Well, no, that hasn't what it's been used for. The military has been a fucked institution, and going back to, you know, like Vietnam, where they were flying all the heroin out of Vietnam in that period up until like the Afghanistan war, where all the opium's coming out of Afghanistan. But will some of these connections in here now with Myanmar, because we know this is a massive, massive hub for child trafficking too, and then we're talking about the Chinese money launderers going into Crown, and like most of Southeast Asia has been taken over by Chinese business, especially in places like Cambodia, like Phnom Penh. These cities have just have skyrocketed. I've been going there for years, and I've seen Phnom Penh completely change, and it's because of all the Chinese business that's coming in. They see these opportunities, but they funnel this shit out through casinos. And another big player, I think, Crown Casino has one in Manila, because I was in Manila too, and a lot of people go to Manila to gamble. A lot of Chinese people go to Manila to gamble, but the money's funneled and laundered through the casinos. There was a Crown Casino there too. So are these things going to all link up? So anyway, Andrew Demetrio, very interesting that he's on this board, because we know that Crown Casino now is under investigation with money laundering connected in with child trafficking. And this is just more shit to go against Daniel Andrews, because we're seeing that this report that came out didn't come from within Victoria, and that now Andrews and Victoria are being pressured to take away the license of Crown to operate in Victoria, but this report didn't come out of Victoria. And you could just, the more I'm looking at Andrews now, if you've seen from the press conference I put at the start, I think this man fully believes in what he's doing. It really does appear to be some sort of Manchurian candidate sort of type of mind programming that's going on. He's getting frustrated having to answer a couple of hard, or not even hard questions, but just like not being pandered to. He can't answer it. And to me, it feels like the programming's breaking down because these questions aren't what he's been programmed to respond to. Anyway, it's just a thought, but I feel this is a breaking period now too. And again, I hope the lockdowns continue. We're starting to see some fucking good resistance, but we've got to take our power back. And like, it's so fucking simple at the moment. Open up your business. Don't fucking pander to these people. Just get on with life. Like the guy with the sausage, having the sausage sizzle. He was just cooking them up. Who gives a fuck? But anyway, as we're going to see, a lot of big stuff's going to be coming out in the US. We saw Nancy Pelosi she was just absolutely furious after coming out of Trump's second impeachment, which they've shown that they've doctored the evidence too. So these people need to be criminally accountable for that.
That gives, lets everybody off the hook. That lets everybody off the hook. Oh, these cowardly senators who couldn't face up to what the president did and what was at stake for our country are now going to have a chance to give a little slap on the wrist. We censure people for using stationery for the wrong purpose. We don't censure people for inciting insurrection that kills people in the Capitol.
Let's follow up with a point that you're making right now about the House managers, as you say, doctoring evidence, and the arguments.
They didn't deny it. They didn't deny it. I put it in front of them 3 times. To be clear for our viewers,
what you're talking about now is a check mark. That's a verification on Twitter that did not exist on that particular tweet. A 2020 that should have actually read 2021, and the selective editing, you say, of the tapes. Is that the doctored evidence of what you're speaking?
Wait. That's not enough for you? That's not enough for you?
Wait.
No.
I'm not a juror in this trial. What I'm trying to be clear for our viewers is what you're referring to, because not everybody has been following.
It's not okay
not everybody,
to doctor a little bit of evidence.
Respectfully. I have not said it is okay.
Ma'am, your question is
I want to be clear for our viewers.
Listen, what has to happen is
about what exactly you're saying when you say doctored evidence.
The media has to start telling the right story in this country. The media is trying to divide this country. You are bloodthirsty for ratings, and as such, you're asking questions now that are already set up with a fact pattern. I can't believe you would ask me a question indicating that it's all right just to doctor a little bit of evidence.
I don't know how much fucking longer we have to wait on this bloody Durham report, the Hunter investigation, all the rest, new stuff coming out around Ghislaine Maxwell. We had Peter Nygaard's son, who is now speaking out publicly, doing videos, speaking out about his father being a fucking pedophile. It's like, there's just so much happening, but don't pander to these people. There's going to be some events coming up in the week, and I feel like, again, I don't think protests really achieve anything except for like morale and then people seeing the support out there. But you need to make the change in your own life. And I'm also feeling personally with me, I've had a bit of a rough period for a while, and it's the change has to happen within. If you want to, you can't. This is something that I've been guilty of. You can't want to change the world and change what's happening on the screen if you're not going to change the projection. And the projection is looking at the inner self, and really that's what we're going through. That's what this is. It is, we're facing our dark side. It's a part of ourselves. It's a part that we don't want to acknowledge, but it's a part you have to, and that if there's no friction, there's no growth. And the required friction that's happening at the moment is necessary. And a lot of people are having contempt for those that believe that Trump and these so-called alliance that are in charge, which is a pretty good argument they are, but how much collateral damage has got to go on, and how much fucking responsibility are we going to have to take for like actually standing up? Because the vaccine comes into Australia next week. I'm expecting a lot of people aren't going to take it, but you know, this is when you're going to see real pushback. So it's scary times, but on top of all, it's exciting times more than anything. So let's just keep at it.